Happy Sunday fun day. Great to have you here at HSN. It has been a fun day thanks to the amazing Andrew Lessman. Of course, he makes the world's finest vitamins, but when it comes to one of his most profound products of all time, we've actually got two today's specials. We'll get to our turmeric in just a few moments. But Andrew, I got to tell you, I know Colleen was waiting for this, Adam was waiting for this, I was waiting for this. Better pricing, and you keep making it better.
Well, and what's interesting, we've been looking at horse chestnut for a long time. And the research on horse chestnut is beyond exciting, compelling, credible. And when I'm talking about research on, say, horse chestnut or diosmin or butcher's broom, I'm not talking about some other kind of research that's reserved for not serious things. This is research that's being performed by the most serious scientific publications, institutions, research institutions. So it's serious medical research. And that's the kind of research, the quotes I'll be showing you. But ultimately, this is a product that simply delivers. If you look at the reviews, this product has virtually perfect reviews, 95% positive reviews, well over 80% are 5-star reviews. And if you read the reviews, you'd swear that we wrote them because they are so positive and so passionate, and they're inspiring. And of course, the product comes with a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. So you either share those same kinds of views yourself, or you get to send it back.
Absolutely, there is no other product like it. Of course, we've got a lot of information to get through, but maybe most importantly, yes, this is one of Andrew's most popular reorder products here at HSN. So we do offer it 12 months out of the year, available on hsn.com, etc. Never, ever at this pricing. So if there was ever a day, whether you sit a lot, whether you stand a lot, when you get home at night, if you literally can't wait to take a load off, if you see those little, what I call fashion war wounds from the impressions of hosiery or stockings or even your jeans that might be a little uncomfortable, that does not happen with this. Plus there are a whole myriad of other benefits that I know Andrew will talk about, because this is all clinically based. We're talking about science. But when the rubber meets the road, this is pricing that we will not see again. In fact, I will say, and I always defer to the man behind the curtain who makes these, in addition to having all the science.
I'm in front of the curtain.
And right tonight in front of the curtain.
No, I'm here to answer all the questions. And this is a product that we dramatically improved.
You did.
That when I introduced this product 25 years ago, it was 500 milligrams of diosmin with 100 milligrams of hesperidin. Now we deliver 600 milligrams of diosmin. We introduced, about 5 years ago, we introduced the butcher's broom at 40 milligrams. We've now doubled it to 80 milligrams. Just now, first time ever, we've introduced the horse chestnut. And if you spoke to different practitioners, some will tell you that diosmin, and in terms of the volume and body of clinical research, diosmin has the most. But that doesn't mean that horse chestnut and butcher's broom do not have an impressive quantity of clinical studies. And if you read the language of these clinical studies, they're not talking about, well, maybe it works or maybe it doesn't work. They're talking about absolutely unequivocally that the research has demonstrated, has established, has proven clearly that it works. Those are the sorts of words that they use, not my words. Those are the words that they use because they're talking about an ingredient that delivers these benefits, and absolutely positively they understand the mechanisms, they understand how it works, and that's basically then up to you to take advantage of whether or not it's going to work for you.
Absolutely, and the bottom line is it does work. I mean, all of those reviews, which I know we'll get to along with the science, read like love letters, but here's what's really important. This savings is absolutely unbelievable to me. Not only with all those improvements that Andrew, he keeps making the product better, you're always welcome to try your introductory sizes, which is great because I travel with those. It's a great gift for somebody as well.
A money-back guarantee applies to all sizes.
All sizes.
I'm often asked, does it only apply to the small sizes? No. You could take advantage of the 720 count. You could take it for 30 days, 60 capsules, and decide, you know, this just doesn't work for me, and send it back. You can send it back for any reason. You won't. I mean, this product, my hair, skin, and nail product has our lowest return rates of any product, and the larger the size, the lower the return rate. So it's really a product that will deliver. I'll read some reviews, and again, it's not as though we have to, what do they say? As they say, cherry pick the reviews. It's not like we have to go through the reviews to try to find good ones. All the reviews read better than the last one. That again, 95% of the reviews are positive, over 80% are 5-star reviews. So you'd be hard pressed to find negative reviews. And it's hard to get a lot of us lately to agree on just about anything. The one thing that there's all agreement on is the efficacy of this product.
Absolutely. So once more, you're always welcome to try any of the sizes. Like Andrew said, you do get that 30-day return policy on everything. And this is not only a feel the difference, but a see the difference product. And we'll talk about that throughout the show. But in addition to the biggest savings that we've ever seen or will see the entire year, even though a lot of us reorder it online, because trust me, I learned my lesson. I will not run out of this again. And we are doing sizes. We don't do the 720 unless it's a today's special.
Right.
Obviously, best pricing ever. So here's where the pricing goes. And part of the reason most of the quantity, especially in the larger sizes, were spoken for very early today, is you will take this, you'll take this every day. I mean, trust me, you'll never want to be without it. But you can actually double your capsule size for the same price where that 360 will go. And the 720 is only offered when you do it as a today's special.
That's correct. The 720 is only here for today.
Right.
And then this evening, that's the end of the 720. In fact, I think we're down to probably less than 2,000 bottles in the 720 right now. So the 720 count, we, as I always say, we make sure that what we deliver to HSN, we retain a little bit at our factory because we never can predict exactly the sizes that are going to be ordered. So we retain a little bit at our factory so we could fill out bottles to balance things off. But there's only so much we'll be able to do. I know we'll probably run out somewhere around 10 o'clock this evening, 10 or 11 o'clock this evening. So we have enough to last until then. And we also shortened the airings here.
Thank goodness.
So, but the most important thing, the most important takeaway is that this is really part of the human condition. We shouldn't all think that we're unique if we're suffering from issues that pertain to our circulation in our legs, if our feet, our calves are getting larger as we've gotten older, if they're getting more swollen, if we've noticed these things with age, as we've gained weight, whatever it might be, the challenges of our job, if we sit too much or we stand too much, it's a normal part of the human condition. But these natural ingredients, and they're all natural ingredients, and they're all scientifically based and scientifically supported, they deliver benefits that really most of us don't think possible. That's one of the more common threads in the reviews was the unanticipated benefit. Not just the fact that it benefited at all, but the degree of the benefit and also how rapidly the benefit was realized.
And that's, you'll hear that in the reviews, but this is your day. I know we've been very busy today. I really want to encourage you though, try this. First and foremost, if you haven't met Andrew Lessman, welcome to HSN. He does manufacture the world's finest vitamins. I said somewhat tongue-in-cheek, he not only has the science to back it up, he's also the person manufacturing with the greatest degree of integrity and pride your products that have that 30-day return policy. But moreover, I think one of the reasons this has not only one of his highest, reorder rates, most of the people calling today are reorders, also one of the lowest return rates. Because I think a lot of us, myself included, almost buy it with the idea intended that we're going to try to prove him wrong. And if that's the case, if you are new, I would love for you to jump in. If you're already a super fan and have discovered for yourself why you never want to run out of this, I mean, whether it's swelling in the hands, swelling in the legs, swelling in the calves, swelling in the feet, whether it's going to bed at night and you feel like your legs keep moving on you, if you used to have difficulty when you sit for long periods of time, as I used to. I had a situation, and Andrew does time out these today's specials. I had actually gone through my bottle, so I experienced firsthand what it's like when you don't have this, and I'd really love for you to try it for yourself at any walk of life. Again, whether you sit a lot or stand a lot, there's a reason that thousands of you give this not only perfect 5-star reviews. Think about the thousands, probably tens of thousands of us who haven't even taken a moment to go on to hsn.com and say how much you love it. Big thing you do, remember, it's a win-win proposition. Only time of the year is at today's special, so best prices we've ever seen. Andrew's going to talk about the science and the upgrades. But at midnight, yes, the pricing goes away. The 720 is only offered when it's at today's special. Right. So why not? Especially if you're going to share it in the family, you can literally double that capsule size for, basically, why not?
And for a product like this, when we introduced this product, it was closer to 30 or 40 cents a capsule.
I remember.
It's now higher potency. It's more comprehensive. We've added more active components, and active components that many would say that butcher's broom and horse chestnut are really the equivalent of diosmin. I still think diosmin is head and shoulders the best ingredient possible for this benefit. What's great about having the horse chestnut and the butcher's broom, yes, they deliver the same benefit, but they have different mechanisms. They go about it differently, what that means is that you get the benefits of all three, because they're all approaching it from a different natural support system. So you get, instead of just duplicating the work of one with another, you're getting the benefit of all three together. I was going to read some reviews.
Perfect.
Just the reviews are so compelling.
They really are. They're powerful.
I encourage you to go to hsn.com and just scan through them. You can do it quickly on your smartphone. It's easy. And you'll just be blown away when you read the reviews, and you'll read how eloquently they're written, how passionately they're expressed. And we'll start here. Circulation and vein support. My legs have been swollen all summer and even in the fall, winter, and spring. I decided to try this, and my legs are no longer swollen, and they haven't been since I started taking them. What else can you say but that they work?
True.
Thanks, Andrew. Surprised. I purchased this because I get bad leg and feet cramps in the middle of the night. Not sure why. The doctor says some people just get them. I thought maybe it was because of long hours in the yard working in the extreme heat. I tried sports drinks, etc., with no luck. My doctor told me to eat a tablespoon of mustard every day. That's interesting. I don't like mustard. Thought I'd try these. Wow, within 1 week, no leg cramps. I've had my feet cramp twice since I've started taking these. Not bad after about 3 weeks of taking this product, considering my feet were cramping every night. I take 2 capsules daily. I love it. I'm a cancer survivor, thank God. The chemo and radiation treatments I had to undergo played havoc with my veins, especially those veins in my lower extremities, not uncommon. Many medications adversely affect the circulation of our legs. My feet would tingle from lack of good blood flow. Well, since I've been taking the circulation vein support for healthy legs capsules, my feet and toes are no longer tingling. The blood flow to my legs and feet has been remarkably improved. Without doubt or hesitation, I recommend these capsules. They do deliver.
Wow.
Wow. What a wonderful product. I've suffered from swelling and discomfort in my legs and feet every day since and before I had my knees and hips replaced. Very common complaint. And also, sometimes if folks would have, say, cardiac bypass surgery and they might remove a vein from your legs, that can adversely affect the circulation in your legs thereafter. This product really works for me. It has taken away that creepy feeling and leg jerking at night too. I ran out, waited for a couple of weeks to test it, and back came all my problems. So I ordered the big size. The first time I took it, I was working in the garden, came in and sat down, and it was about an hour later I noticed my legs were not experiencing any discomfort. I will not be without it again. And again, there are, I was gonna say dozens, there are hundreds or if not thousands of reviews like these.
True.
Cannot be without. Pure miracle, pure genius product. And mind you, the product is now better. The active ingredients are more potent than before. Most folks, I recommend taking 2 capsules daily. If you want to take just 1 capsule, start with 2 capsules daily, and then go to 1 capsule after a month or 2. Pure miracle, pure genius product. Andrew, I adore you for being such a brilliant man and taking care of us and making us feel better, just when we think there may be no hope. I get leg cramps, tightness, and discomfort, and this totally helps relieve all of that. I'm just speechless and in complete awe of how this works. Thank you from Lily in Ohio.
Nice.
Incredible. This product had to be reviewed. I really would not believe it if I didn't experience the incredible effect it had on my life. After many doctor visits and treatment for leg discomfort over a 9-month period with no relief or change of any type, I decided to just give this a try. Here is the important issue. Within 1 week, I had minimal discomfort, and within 3 weeks, no discomfort. Thanks, Andrew, so much. I have my life back. And as I said, there's hundreds, if not thousands of reviews like that, where, again, it's not a drug, it's not a medicine, it's just something natural that deals with something that's natural, and that is the human condition. We stand and basically we have these blood vessels in our feet, ankles, and calves. Unfortunately, the blood and nutrients, oxygens that are pumped down to reach those tissues, it's coming from our heart. And gravity wants to keep the fluid that's pumped down there, it wants to keep it down there. As we get older, if we have other challenges, overweight or obese, it just accentuates, aggravates that problem. Unfortunately, how does our body deal with this? If we have fluid and blood pooling or collecting down there, what does our body do to force it to come back up? It pumps more blood behind it.
True.
That's how it works. Certainly to the extent, that's why you see me when I'm standing here, I'm always moving around.
That's true.
Because as we move around, it takes advantage of a system in our legs that uses the musculature in our legs, it uses valves in our veins to help move things back up. But that design is in recognition of the fact that there is no pump in our feet. So we need to get that fluid back up. And as we get older, the constant pumping, our heart beats, whatever it might beat, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 beats per minute. Every time it beats, it's putting pressure on those blood vessels. And if we're standing, if we're sitting too much, it just aggravates, increases the consequences of that pressure. This is a product, the ingredients in the product go to the blood vessels, the veins in question, supports the blood vessel tone, so that you're going to see less blood vessel enlargement, less enlarged veins. You're going to have less swelling in your feet, ankles, and calves. It makes a visible difference. I think most importantly for everyone, even beyond the visible difference, and that's what you really read in the reviews often, is the difference in how it makes their legs feel and how they approach their life as a result.
Absolutely. I mean, profound differences for me. And I know for anyone who has taken this, I know you already agree. That's why we are tens of thousands of these already spoken for. When Andrew launched this last night, we were already through a good portion of our day. Then when he was on the air with Colleen at noon, trust me when I tell you, we wait for this, I wait for this. So if there was ever a day to either stock up or put your toe in the water, what's interesting about those reviews that Andrew just read, I would just about guess if I interviewed any one of those reviewers, I bet every single one of them would say that there was nothing that there could do. I'm confident when I say that. And quite frankly, there is no other product like this in the world. I mean, there is no other product like it. And remember, Andrew could have easily rested on his laurels. So when you first started doing this, we talked about selling it with a tape measure, but you still keep enhancing it.
And what's interesting, I'm not sure, I was just thinking about this, it's something to ask your doctor, but I'm not sure if there's even a drug that delivers the natural benefits that this provides. And again, this is just sort of a natural tonic for the blood vessels and veins in your legs. And as a result, there's less fluid seeping out, there's less leakage from those blood vessels. Those blood vessels don't tend to enlarge because they're better toned. And whether it's diosmin, or whether it's the butcher's broom extract, or whether it's the horse chestnut extract, all three of those are the beneficiary or have been the recipient of extensive clinical study. And as I said before, positive clinical study where they're talking about them, not that this may work or the research suggests that it might work, but that the research clearly shows the benefits to the circulation in our feet, ankles, and calves. And many folks talk about the benefits to the circulation in their hands, that they see less of the veins, say, in the back of their hands, swelling in their fingers, as they might notice because of their rings fitting better. But again, this is a product that's not just a natural product, it's a product that's been the subject of careful clinical study. So, and it's not something that would bring to you and talk about in this fashion if it hadn't been the subject of that careful clinical study. And in a second, I'll grab some of the charts on the research and just read some quotes directly out of the research. And as you know from research I've read in the past, researchers tend to be, they love to hedge their bets. They love to use words like possibly, suggests, likely, may, probably. If they can't say something with certainty, they avoid using language of certainty at all costs. What you're going to read or see in the research on all of these ingredients, the three in question, you're going to see words that are clearly chosen with emphasis and with certainty because the ingredients work.
I think that's an excellent point because normally, you know, journals like that are very, very cautious. So maybe you have been cautious. Maybe you've been skeptical. I always say things in life are guided for a reason. I know for myself and Colleen and Adam, I know his mom is a huge fan. Any of us who have tried this product, I am probably, well, I know Colleen would say the same thing. We become his own individual crusaders. And you know that's true. In fact, I don't know if your ears were burning when you were on the air last night. I was talking to my friend Victoria, who's decades younger than I was, but she has to move a lot of the kitchen equipment and carts. And she's like, gosh, do you think this could help me? And I thought it was interesting because at any age, My grandma always used to say, Shannon, take good care of your legs and your feet, because, you know, if your dogs are talking to you, she's like, you'll feel that lifetime of abuse. And you know what? She was right. I think we've all had those moments where you just think, man, I can't wait to put my feet up. You know, what is your circulation maybe keeping you from? Are you not playing with your grandkids? You're not walking the dog. Maybe you're not going to the gym. Whether you're active like Andrew is, or whether you have to sit behind a computer for a living, this can and will help you. It's interesting because when I said earlier, we used to not even jokingly say that we would sell it with a tape measure, but a lot of the reviews are women saying, I'm wearing shorts again, I'm wearing skirts again, I'm wearing bathing suits again. And then conversely, we used to call this the nurse's product. Those of us who rely on our feet and on our legs to take us through life. But remember, if you are, you know, kind of stuck in traffic for hours on end or parked behind a desk, it can help you too. So if you are channel surfing, now remember, we've got two amazing today's special. I can't play favorites, but Andrew knows what a big fan I am of turmeric. I actually started taking it for my joints, but we've got a whole list of other side benefits, and of course today's special pricing. But if you're watching this show, I hope we can now take your phone call immediately, at least see what this can do for you. If you're still trying to maintain the roaring 20s or your best year ever, what is your circulation keeping you from enjoying in life? And there is a better way. There is no other product like this in the world. And certainly, even though, remember, it's Andrew's, one of his top reorder products and one of his lowest return rate, but I've purchased it at the regular price, and maybe you have too. So if there was ever a day to stock up, I think that's why most of us are doing those larger sizes, because if you did run out like I did, you've learned your lesson. So we have, yes, the introductory sizes, and then of course the 320 and the 720 are proving to be the most popular. As a reminder, here's where the pricing goes, but here's your pricing today along with your savings. Good grief, you are saving almost as much as you're spending in any one of these cases. But part of the reason most of us are gravitating toward either the 360 or the 720. Now remember, like Andrew said, even in the bigger sizes, you still get a 30-day return policy, so you could take it, you know, for a couple weeks. You will start to feel a difference very quickly, I'll tell you that. But why not, when you can do the 720 count today only, that sizing is offered, the pricing is only offered, and for all intents and purposes, get a BOGO, because you can double your capsule size. Right. I mean, that's pretty incredible. That is. So thank you for doing that.
A BOGO, buy one, get one free.
A BOGO, buy one, get one. That's my kind of buy one, get one.
I've never heard that expression before.
Really?
I'm going to have to steal that in the future.
See,
a BOGO.
I think you should.
It's a little different than like a bogey in golf. It's like
That's true.
A BOGO, buy one, get one free.
So you have to be cautious about what vernacular you do steal from me, because you just never know what you're going to get.
Yes.
Like Forrest Gump. But, you know.
Yes, you've succeeded in making me blush on many occasions. In fact, just before the show, you did.
I did. I make it a personal goal of mine.
Which I will not repeat what you said.
I know, because you're a good man.
You were giving a testimonial on the product.
I was. True.
But it was a testimonial dealing with something that we'll talk about a little later.
We will.
Yes.
We will. We'll bait and tease you. But I know we are very busy, and regardless, you can hear how passionate I am. I really do hope you try it. I know for me, it's interesting because I did start to feel and see a difference almost immediately, especially like with my hands and with my feet. Now, I do not wear the high heels that beautiful Amy Morrison does, but I used to. And let's be honest, our circulation changes as we get older, but we all have our crusade. We all have those challenges. And that's what's so wonderful about this product. Non-denominational, any age.
And simply just the aging process.
Yeah.
The aging process alone, if we look at this chart from the Korean Journal of Internal Medicine, and it really sums it up well, the first paragraph, because the first thing, the real issue with the circulation in our legs, it's advancing age. Right. That's the real issue. But then, of course, family history, we inherit our genetics, prolonged standing or prolonged sitting, obesity, smoking, sedentary lifestyle, lower extremity trauma. Many of us have injuries or traumas or surgery.
For sure.
Prior venous thrombosis, certain medications we might have taken, the presence of an arteriovenous shunt, high estrogen states, hormonal issues, a pregnancy are all considered risk factors for ongoing leg, vein, and circulatory issues. Many compounds have been tried with varying success, but the most promising are saponins, that's horse chestnut seed extract, ASIN. And then gamba-benzopyrene, that's a natural, that's flavonols, polyphenols. That would be the diosmin or rudicides, that would be the butcher's room extract. So the first two that they named as the effective ones, it's this product. And then they go on to mention hesperidin, also in this product. And then they go on to mention micronized purified flavonoid fraction and other plant extracts like French maritime pine bark, and similar to that is grapeseed extract. They all contain OPCs, the oligomeric proanthocyanidins. So we basically, that paragraph, and that paragraph was written independent of us, we basically cover all the recommendations of that paragraph. And again, those are most compounds have been tried with varying success, but the most promising are, and those are the ones we use, and they're not just promising, they are validated in clinical science, which we'll now go and talk about. The principle for using these venoactive agents is to improve venous tone, the tone of your blood vessels and veins, and capillary permeability. From International Angiology, this is talking about diosmin with hesperidin. The efficacy was clearly demonstrated with a rapid improvement, efficacy clearly demonstrated of functional signs in the first months, being maintained till the end of the study. The reduction of ankle and calf circumferences, reduce the size of the ankle and calf, is probably linked to a decrease in plasma filtration through capillary walls.
So the measurement of that,
the
like
size,
the
you could actually, the visible, measurable difference in the ankle and calf. And that's been mentioned in several clinical studies, and it is because of the leakage and seepage from capillaries and blood vessels. This fact confirms the positive role of diosmin with hesperidin on tissue microcirculation.
Andrew, can I tell you, and I don't want to digress too much, but when they say fact and clearly demonstrate, that's pretty profound.
Again, researchers, nothing, as a scientist or a researcher, you don't like someone to necessarily call your conclusions into question. So you choose your language carefully. You make sure that your conclusions that are drawn are consistent with the data that you have, the research that you've performed. So when they start using very clear language like that, you know it's not just based upon the study they've performed, but the study they've performed in light of research that's also already been performed. Because mind you, when it comes to diosmin or horse chestnut or butcher's broom extract, you're talking about ingredients that have been the subject of extensive clinical study. But as we go on, this is from another journal called Angiology. Pharmacological and clinical studies demonstrated the comprehensive mode of action of diosmin with hesperidin. It increases venous tone, it improves lymph drainage, and it protects the microcirculation. Current vascular pharmacology, the clinical efficacy of diosmin with hesperidin in the circulation in veins, has been demonstrated by several randomized controlled studies, which are the gold standard of research, in which the rate of benefits was significantly shortened. An explanation for the ability to speed relief comes from the protection diosmin with hesperidin exerts on the microcirculation, the capillaries and veins in our legs. This is from Current Vascular Pharmacology, another journal. Diosmin with hesperidin reduced venous distension and venous capacitance and improved venous tone in women with various degrees of venous complaints. And venous just as an adjective pertaining to the veins. From Angiology, diosmin with hesperidin produced a significant decrease in venous capacitance, venous distensibility, and venous emptying time. In addition, these changes were accompanied by, and consistent with, a decrease in the ankle and calf circumference. So again, it's observed, it delivers its benefits, and now we'll go to butcher's broom. And hopefully this is not boring, because this is the scientific confirmation
the foundation
that you see in the reviews. The reviews are compelling and passionate, but this is the science that you could rely on. This is the science that your doctor would rely on. So the beneficial effect of butcher's broom, which has been well established for centuries in the pharmacopoeia of the Mediterranean countries, is now clinically established by its scientifically proven pharmacodynamic properties and clinical actions. Proven. From International Angiology, in another study with butcher's broom, hesperidin, and ascorbic acid, significant improvement in heavy legs, leg discomfort, cramps, and afternoon edema, swelling, was demonstrated, as well as an improvement in vein health following use. In phlebology, previous studies have reported that butcher's broom, when combined with hesperidin and vitamin C, and of course we have hesperidin in here, induces a significant decrease and a rapid regression of experiences including uncomfortable, tired legs and swelling of the lower limbs. And this is again about from Planta Medica. this is again discussing butcher's broom. During the Middle Ages, the young shoots of butcher's broom were not only used as food, but also as a medicinal agent for the treatment of heavy legs.
Huh.
In the Middle Ages.
Oh, wow.
And now science has validated, as it said there, proven its benefits. So butcher's broom rhizomes is traditionally used as a vascular preventive and tonic in preparations for disorders involving the venous system, including venous fragility and varicose veins. Due to its benefits demonstrated in several clinical studies and oral supplementation, butcher's broom is recommended. And these are journals that physicians are reading, that experts are reading. As a remedy for issues affecting the circulatory system, butcher's broom has a long tradition of proven success in Europe. Patients with chronic venous circulatory issues treated with butcher's broom extract maintained constant venous tone and had improved venous emptying, unlike placebo-treated patients. And all of us, we're all aging, our veins in our legs are challenged, and it's an opportunity to give our body something it needs.
It's true.
It goes on to talk about varicose veins, even hemorrhoids here, that it's been used in Germany and France for the treatment of chronic venous circulatory issues, varicose veins and hemorrhoids. And I wanted to skip ahead to horse chestnut. This is more about butcher's broom, has been used successfully for 40 years for chronic venous circulatory issues and more. Again, so if you think there's just a scarcity of research, as you could see here, including leg discomfort, heaviness, feeling of swelling, fatigue, cramps, pruritus, paresthesia, but also global symptoms. And paresthesia is numbness, pruritus is sort of an itching feeling. So all sorts of normal complaints that pertain to our circulation. And then the primary active constituent found in horse chestnut seed extract is acin. Acin from horse chestnut seed extract has been shown to have this is a great word, edematous, I think is the word. Edema is swelling, so it's anti-swelling,
Right.
anti-inflammatory, and venotonic properties that may be attributable to decreased vascular permeability. Horse chestnut extract administration increases sensitization to calcium ions, decreases permeability of small vessels. Essentially, it allows our blood vessels and veins to work more efficiently. I'll stop reading the science there. I hope it doesn't bore everyone when I do it, but to me, it's the ultimate proof that what I'm talking about is more even than the reviews and the incredible testimonials on the product, but there's serious science supporting not one, but all of the ingredients in this product. And this is the most comprehensive product I've ever made. It's the best price it's ever been. And
sure.
this is going to be, we're running out of quantity as I speak.
We are indeed. And when you consider any one of those concerns that Andrew was reading from the science, let alone from the reviews, that's not a good day. Whether you're straining during the elimination process or you see your hands swelling, then absolutely you see and feel a difference. So remember, all we ask you to do, and I know we are very busy, we've got yours now, but this is the last show where you can get that today's special. Still a 30-day return policy. Even if you do some of the introductory sizes, which I love to travel with those also make great gifts. Think Father's Day, think Mother's Day. Put that in an Easter basket. I mean, why not? Because we've got great savings that expire at midnight. And then remember, because this is where our pricing goes, today we have, and today only, not only special pricing, but we do the 720 count, and that's the only day we do that. But basically,
And it's
BOGO.
And it's BOGO.
BOGO.
It's pennies a capsule.
It
I mean,
is.
when you look at a 720 capsule, when I introduced this initially, there wasn't a 720 capsule
No.
supply. The largest size I think was a 180 capsule supply, and you were looking at 30 or 40 cents a dose. So to think that we're less than 20 cents in the large size, a little over a dime a capsule.
That's pretty amazing.
And now it's so comprehensive. Initially, I would never say it was possible to benefit at say taking one capsule daily. But now, because of the increase in diosmin, because of the change in the granulation, it's a finer powder of diosmin, which makes it more bioavailable. That enhances the benefits of diosmin over the original formula. That's something we only recently introduced as well. Because of the addition and the doubling of the butcher's broom extract, because of the incorporation, the inclusion of the horse chestnut extract, we also have pine bark extract that many people swear by, and grapeseed extract that many people swear by. So we leave no stone unturned. You have every opportunity to see a benefit in an area that, I mean, if you're over the age of 30 and you haven't noticed a difference in your circulation, the way your feet, ankles, and calves appear, then God bless you. Because most folks already have, and certainly as you get older, you will. And most of us just think that there's nothing we can do. I mean, I'm the first person to admit that when I read the science on this, yeah, I thought the science was really compelling. but it was a natural ingredient. And this was such a significant and serious discussion in the clinical studies that I was surprised that how could this really be, until I used it myself. And because I bicycle a lot, and when I cycle a lot at night, it feels like I'm still on my bike when I'm trying to go to sleep. And for me, it was a night and day difference that I would never want to be without. So whatever it might be that has your feet, ankles, and calves, whether it's their appearance, the way they feel, in some fashion they're speaking to you that they weren't what they used to be, then there might still be an opportunity to make a difference. And the only person who can benefit is you. The only person who will know is you. And this is a product that has serious science behind it. Many folks think when I talk about the science, it's a different type of science that pertains to dietary supplements than would pertain to a medicine or a drug. But no, those were serious medical journals, clinical journals doing clinical science that discuss this ingredient. They're read by doctors because doctors they just don't think about drugs. They also want to have at their disposal natural tools and natural remedies to support their patient's health. And that's exactly what this is.
Well, and I think we all do, but remember, this is your last show. Price does go away at midnight, 720 cap, only done for today. Seeing is believing. You owe it to yourself to at least give it a try. You know, I was talking about how when your circulation is off, you're uncomfortable. I mean, you notice in your hands and feet. I actually first started taking your turmeric because of because of things I could feel with my joints. But what's interesting, and if you haven't read about turmeric, where have you been? That's number one. But that is number one. But the whole idea is whether you love to cook with it, like I know Marielle and I do, you have to be getting it in its proper form. So what we're doing as our secondary today's special, this is a personal favorite of mine, is once more this day and this day only pricing. Everything does expire at the stroke of midnight. But when we talk about how Andrew is not only the science and the man behind the curtain, he is the manufacturer as well. So yes, you can read about all of those therapeutic and sometimes even beauty benefits about turmeric, but if you're not getting the right kind in the standardized form and in the delivery method, it's not going to do you any good. But let me just take you on a tour of your sizes and your choices, because big savings. I know I'm stocking up on this today. I know that, because I actually take it twice a day. Now I know you can only take it, you only have to take it once a day.
No, a lot of folks take a capsule with every meal or 2 capsules with every meal, but 1 capsule a day is plenty to just get the benefits of the curcuminoids in terms of its natural soothing benefits or supportive benefits, whether it's for detoxification of your liver, supportive benefits to your brain, whether it's going to be soothing benefits to your digestive tract or soothing benefits to your joints. Again, it's a natural ingredient. You could take more than 1 capsule, it's not an issue, but 1 capsule delivers an abundance of benefits.
But I know for me personally, I've felt such a big difference. I mean, whether it is that detoxification or my joints and my digestive system, all your major vital organs. So remember, it's our today's special. That pricing does expire at midnight. So on that 30, 60, 120, 240, and 360, I obviously, now I'm the only person in my household, but I do take it twice a day, but 1 is more than ample. But if you are going to be sharing it in the house, and if you've read about the benefits of turmeric, then do yourselves a favor and get the biggest savings. I mean, here again is really kind of a buy one, get one. If you look at that, because on the 240 count, because there's where the pricing goes, good grief, less than $100 on that 360. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, when you think about it.
And again, it's an ingredient that it has to be delivered correctly. When you're talking about turmeric, first of all, you need to standardize the turmeric to make sure you're getting the beneficial compounds. Those are the curcuminoids. But now it's very easy to find a standardized turmeric that has 95% curcuminoids. And assuming that that company is playing fair, 95% curcuminoids is about the best standardization you're going to get if you're getting them in the right composition. But that's only the beginning of the story with turmeric, because those curcuminoids are not necessarily absorbable. That's the problem, that they inherently aren't well absorbed. If you grew up in India or in Asia where they used turmeric as just an incredibly common spice, the way we use salt and pepper here, then simply having it with food, you got an abundance of turmeric. And when you cook with turmeric, because turmeric and the curcuminoids naturally tend to complex with fat, and what does that fat do? It potentiates the absorption of those curcuminoids. That's Mother Nature's way to make curcuminoids and their benefits available to us. But if you're taking a supplement, even if it has 95% curcuminoids, and typical turmeric spice only has 1%, so a standardized extract in a supplement, 95%, you're going, wow, that's say 95 times more. That's fantastic. That's got to give me enormous benefits. But unfortunately, even despite the 95%, those curcuminoids are not going to be well absorbed unless you do something to facilitate their absorption. They're naturally not well absorbed out of the human digestive tract. But there's two ways to accomplish this that has been proven that I've talked about today. One way, which is the really inexpensive, the cheap way, that if a company uses this facilitation technique, of the two, one using fat, the other using black pepper called piperine. Piperine, yes, it does enhance the absorption of the curcuminoids in turmeric, which is a good thing, but black pepper can be irritating to the GI system, to a lot of us. Also, black pepper can have an impact on the metabolism and the absorption of drugs. And the last thing we want to do, at least when I'm making a supplement, is have to warn you about the potential adverse impact this formula might have on a drug you're taking. So what we do is something that doesn't require a warning or anything like that. We simply complex the turmeric, the curcuminoids in the turmeric, with fat. And because the fat that we use, because turmeric targets, in some respects, your liver and your brain, we use phosphatidylcholine. So you get a fat that's independently beneficial on its own, and that fat, that phosphatidylcholine, that phospholipid, increases the absorption of the turmeric and its curcuminoids, not a little bit. I was talking about this earlier, not by, say, 20 or 30%,
right?
But how about by 20 or 30 times, by 30 times, by 3,000%? So that's the difference. The most effective way, the best way to deliver, the most natural way in my mind to deliver the benefits of turmeric is simply to take a page out of the Asian cookbook and simply complex it with fat. Do it at low temperature. Choose the fat intelligently. Choose a healthy fat, a phospholipid like phosphatidylcholine that we all want to have an abundance of anyhow. And we use that phosphatidylcholine to potentiate and increase the absorption of the turmeric and its curcuminoids, because frankly, piperine, we could make this product a little bit less expensive if we use piperine. But using piperine, I would be concerned about its potential irritation and inflammation to the digestive system. I would also be concerned about piperine and its impact with other medications you might be taking.
Absolutely. And you know, as they say, knowledge is power, but yes, you're going armed with the knowledge, but unless you have that bound in such a way to get, or delivered in such a way to reap those benefits of turmeric, otherwise, you're wasting your money. So you know, not only are you getting the world's finest vitamins, this is a customer pick, and I actually originally started taking this for my joints, but I can tell you for a fact, I love taking it for my liver benefits because I take a lot of, you know, prescription medication that help manage some of my joint issues, your digestive tract, whether it's, we're talking about your brain. The more you know about turmeric, the more you're going to be compelled to take it. But if you're going to take anybody's turmeric, you want it to be Andrew's, and you want to do it today because this is the best pricing that we will see all year. And I got to be honest, I buy it even if it's not at today's special price because I love it.
And it's the best formula we could make. It's the most of the best that we could fit into a single capsule. So again, we don't use additives, we don't use excipients. So all you're getting in this capsule is you're getting 95% standardized extract of turmeric, standardized for 95% curcuminoids. And then that is complexed with phosphatidylcholine, with phospholipids. So you're making sure that not only are you getting the turmeric that you want and the curcuminoids that you want, but they're going to be absorbed. It sort of sums it up. I knew about turmeric and its curcuminoids and its benefits long before I offered it as a product, even though we've been doing it for over 20 years. Initially, when I first discovered turmeric, I realized and I learned that unfortunately, it's not well absorbed. So until I could make a supplement, it's kind of like our approach to Friendly Flora. Until I could make a probiotic supplement that I knew would tolerate storage in a bottle without refrigeration, tolerate the acid in your digestive system so they could benefit the rest of your body, as much as I'd like to join everyone else who are offering products, I couldn't ethically make that product. And that was the origin of our turmeric product. I probably looked at doing a turmeric product for 3 to 5 years before we introduced it. And we only were able to introduce our turmeric product when we knew with confidence that you'd get the benefits. And that's what we know with this phospholipid complex. We know for certain that it's been demonstrated that the limited absorbability of turmeric on its own we increased that by 3,000%, which is enormous.
It is indeed, and I have to say, first of all, we can't generally keep many of the different sizes in stock, even when it's not a today's special. And I'm just speaking from experience, because I do buy it whether it's today's special priced or not.
And the 360 that's a
one and done.
Yeah, and we don't even, we normally, we probably do a Today Special on turmeric about every 18 months.
Right.
This is not something that's typically been a Today Special every year.
No.
But we only do the 360 when we do a Today Special.
And that's a big deal. And not only significant savings, but remember, you're getting those
But even
benefits.
at 240, for most vitamin companies, a 120 is a large size. They're normally selling 30s and 60s. So what we try to do is make the large sizes incredibly affordable. I used to do all these products on auto ship. But auto ship is usually with small bottles being delivered every month or every 2 months, which is not very environmentally friendly. Lots of bottles, lots of caps, lots of labels, lots of trucks driving to your house. But I'd rather give you an enormous savings on a large size, an enormous savings, and it's just one bottle, and it will last you a year.
One quick aside, though, not only is it one day only pricing with that 360 available, and the best turmeric that money can buy. But Andrew, I gotta say, if you're gonna spend your money, you want to deliver those benefits, and this is a way that you do that. But also, you brought in, there are far fewer of the turmeric Today Special than the circulation in vein.
Yeah, they're actually pretty close in quantities.
Are they pretty close?
They're pretty close in quantities, but we're now down, I would imagine we're down under 1,000 in all the sizes of our turmeric.
Oh, wow.
So for all the sizes, and this is just an abbreviated airing, as the clock is already up, we'll be done in 5 minutes, and then we'll probably spend another 10 minutes at the end of the second hour. And so that'll be it for the Today Special. Because we have very limited quantity of this and very limited back order quantity on this, and our ability to make more. So we generally are, what are they, stealing from Peter to pay Paul?
Yes, you are.
So what we'll do is we'll take quantity that would have been for next month and just incorporate it into the Today Special.
But I mean, it is. I'm excited for you, especially if you have done some research. And I will say, Andrew's customers we're his friends and family, and we are his own crusaders. The more research you know, the more you want to be taking his products. And that's just it. There are a lot of companies that hop on a bandwagon. I think it's interesting that, now turmeric is this big buzz in the health industry and even in the beauty industry. But Andrew's been doing it, and he didn't do it until he could make it different, or not only make it different, but deliver those benefits. And that's why you're bothering to spend your money. That's why you're bothering to do your research anyway. So if you were going to try it, I have to say, you owe it to yourself, whether it is digestive or your major organs or liver detox or your joints. You want those benefits. Today is the best pricing ever. Pricing goes away at midnight. 30, 60, even on the introductory sizing, it's a fantastic way to jump in. 120, and then the 240 and the 360. I always go to the 360 just because, I rely on this product like a lot of people do.
And what I encourage everyone to do, because that's why I spend so much time reading the science and the research and the reviews, is do a little research online.
Yes.
If you do a little research online and just look at the science on turmeric and the curcuminoids, if you go to PubMed.gov, P-U-B-M-E-D, med.gov, that's the National Research Database. And you go do like a little research, like you're a doctor or scientist doing research, and type in turmeric, and then type in the word and then if you just put another letter after, and watch the autofill. If you type in an H, you'll see heart. If you type in whatever you're going to type in, you'll just see that system. You type in B, it's going to be brain. Type in N, you'll see nervous system. Whatever you type in, there's going to be an abundance of research, because researchers have been looking at the benefits of turmeric. Its anti-aging benefits, its soothing benefits, its benefits for the joints. That's what most of the reviews talk about here. So the more we are informed and the more we see that serious scientists and researchers and physicians are looking at turmeric, you'll feel very good about taking a capsule a day. It's just one of those protective compounds that curcuminoids that are basically next to impossible to absorb unless the product is designed to absorb them. And then when we look at turmeric as a spice, unfortunately, unlike the 95% curcuminoids in our product, a typical spice is only 1 or 2%.
Right.
So even if you use it with fat and you complex it when you cook it, it's still only at 1 or 2% levels, and it's not like you're using a half a gram. You're probably just using a few milligrams or tens of milligrams, dozens of milligrams when you cook. So it really is important. If you want to embrace the benefits of this, you need to transform your cooking, which, by the way, in terms of a spice, we are working very hard on creating a spice that would be standardized for curcuminoids.
Wow.
If you go to buy all the spices, they're not standardized. And if you measure them, which we've done, typically 1%, usually maybe 2% if you're lucky. We would like to make a spice with the assurance on the label, like a supplement, but with the assurance on the label that that spice contains 20 or 30% curcuminoids.
Wow.
And then when you use it, you complex it with fat when you use it, or maybe we'll even complex it with fat in the spice itself, like our supplement.
Oh.
So that's something we're looking at as well. So when you cook with turmeric, you'll really get even more benefits like they do in the abundance that they use it in Asia, especially in India. So turmeric is something that I wouldn't want to go a day without. The more you learn, the more you read the reviews, and really the more you read the science, I don't think you would either.
Absolutely not. I mean, and that really is true. And if you're going to bother to take it, I mean, yes, so the research is important, but you have to be taking the right kind. Not only is this the right kind, it's the right price, it's the right time.
And that's one thing that the research will talk about. The research will talk about the fact that, yes, turmeric is wonderful, its benefits with the curcuminoids are remarkable. However, there's a problem with absorption. In fact, I have charts right here that will speak specifically to that point, that notwithstanding how beneficial it could be, it has huge obstacles to absorption. And a supplement to be beneficial has to overcome those obstacles to absorption, which is what we've done.
Absolutely, and all for the best price ever. I know we are very busy. Please use express ordering, load that mobile app on your phone, call that toll-free number. But whatever you do, if you've been either wanting to take turmeric, and I can tell you for a fact, because when you get out in the marketplace, he delivers on performance, or whether you're already a fan like I am, this is our best day, period. So remember, it's not even as if turmeric is offered as a today's special every 12 months. It's a little bit more than that because, you know, Andrew thinks of the footprint from Mother Earth in addition to our pocketbooks, which is nice. So you can supersize today.
We make everything we make our products with no carbon footprint,
right,
because our facility is entirely solar powered. So again, we try to be responsible in not just how we make it, but we even offset the footprint of the shipments to you. We've planted hundreds of thousands of trees to offset those shipments. And what I was going to read here, just quickly, I found it right on the top of the science charts. This is from, and again, as I said, there really isn't a system or an organ in your body that escapes turmeric. And this is from a journal on clinical ophthalmology, obviously talking about benefits to the eyes. Curcumin has poor systemic availability, but formulation with phospholipids dramatically increases its oral absorption. That's exactly what we do.
Sure.
To overcome the bioavailability problem, a lecithin formulation, lecithin is high in phosphatidylcholine, we just use pure phosphatidylcholine of curcumin, has been developed, and incorporation into a phospholipid matrix leads to an almost 30-fold increase in absorption, which is exactly what we've done. So even the scientists, the researchers, know about curcumin and turmeric's limited absorption and what can be done in a natural fashion to enhance its availability.
Well, I think it's exciting stuff. So at this point, now the good news is you're with the manufacturer, so he can keep a close eye on whatever is going on.
Everyone on the phone, we will probably only spend about 10 minutes on this
really abbreviated
at the end of the next hour, if that, because I just want to make sure we have hopefully enough to last till the end of the day. And we greatly abbreviated. We're going to talk about it for a while. We only talked about it for about 10 minutes or so today.
Can I ask you a favor?
Right.
I accidentally left my phone at home, and I'm out. So if I call you in Henderson, you're going to take the call and I can get it?
Who?
Smith, who?
What call?
Exactly. I know.
No,
I'm actually serious about that.
Absolutely.
Because normally
if you call Sandy, my assistant,
okay,
she always picks
Sandy,
up
you got your number.
Yes.
But it's funny. I'm somewhat saying that tongue in cheek, but I'm really not, because you have no idea. The number of times I'm like, oh, I wonder if I called Andrew and knew I could have this overnight. I'm serious.
By the way, here at HSN and QVC, they're very, very rigorous about are not like giving our product away kind of thing to everyone here, because it could seem like maybe it's a little unethical our doing that.
Sure.
So if they're talking about the product, having any of the hosts I'm on with talking about the product and using the product, it's because like you, they get special pricing here.
True.
But like you, they're buying the product.
Yeah, gone are the days of the big bag paying off in the hallway.
No, it used to be. It's funny. I don't know how many times I was on air and I'd be talking to the camera, and I'd be on with Colleen. and I would hear capsules because she'd be taking the large bottle in the last show and dumping it into her purse. Literally, all of them.
See, I only learn from the best, folks. What can I say? But when I say, I'm really not even joking about that. That is absolutely true. This is, especially once you read about the benefits. I mean, you'll want to be taking turmeric, but this is the turmeric you want to be taking. And if you're going to do it, today is the day you want to be doing it. Best pricing that we're going to see for, well, actually over a year. And remember, Andrew only does that 360 count really when it's a today's special. Anyway, you stack it, I got to tell you, I am shocked because I do remember Andrew didn't do turmeric. He's been talking about it longer than anybody else. But when you first debuted it at HSN, it was I won't say cost prohibitive, but it's not an inexpensive product for you to make.
And we've only improved the cost over time.
Right.
We've only improved the product over time. We've enhanced its absorption. We've enhanced its standardization.
That's nice.
We've continued to make the product better and better. I just learned that actually, we have a little screen here that says what the current quantity we have on hand is, but we've actually loaded product in. So we actually had sold out a few of the sizes already.
Okay.
So we're now, we're basically, these are capsules that are in Henderson, Nevada that are being designated.
You see me getting nervous over here?
So this is, don't worry, I'll send you a bottle.
All right.
I'll send you from my home.
Okay.
My own personal stash. Yes.
I know where to find you, mister.
But I have no circulation vein support at home, oddly enough. I ran out.
Oh, no kidding.
But I had it in my travel bag, so the minute I got here, yes. So.
Do you know what? I've done that. Actually, you know what? I did it with Friendly Flora recently, because that's why, actually, that's a good point. A lot of my real core items, which it'd be hard for me to pick favorites, I'll do what I call the introductory sizes for my travel bag. Also great to deliver across the miles, because any of the sizes, 30-day return policy and free shipping as well. Right. So it's great to do.
Everything during a visit, and it goes, I think, until tomorrow night or something like that. But we will have all the special pricing on every product remains. Today's special goes away, unfortunately, I'm sorry. But all the other special pricing for this week on every product I make is available until, I think, either midnight, might even be midnight Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm not sure, you know.
Yes,
Look.
midnight Tuesday. So we're extending it to midnight Tuesday.
See, that's the only time that I listen to the voices.
Yes, you're hearing voices.
Yeah, I do.
We all hear voices.
We do.
We have these little earpieces in, like like the Secret Service guys do, or newscasters.
Well, you know, although if it were broadcast news, they'd probably be more pleased with what the producer, if I repeated what the producer said as opposed to what pops into my head. But I can't. Rick's like, oh, you have no idea.
They don't talk that much to me.
Really?
They occasionally say, well, Steve would always say kind of funny things to me, I think, because he'd always want to try to make me laugh. Right. which isn't very hard to do. But,
Andrew, in addition to everything else, I mean, has a wonderful sense of humor. And,
thank you.
But it's really true. But you can probably tell he kind of wears his heart on his sleeve when it comes to his products. And he's an American success story. Exclusive here at HSN and QVC.
My parents' success story.
Yeah.
No.
That's
and
nice
my dad is having a little, so hopefully he's watching now. My dad's having on, that's why I won't be on tomorrow, Monday. On Tuesday, my dad's having a little procedure.
Okay.
So, and my dad's 90 years old. And hey, Dad, love you. I'll see you soon. Hopefully you're watching. But so unfortunately, that's why I won't be doing the Monday night show tomorrow.
All right. Well, again, you know, Godspeed. I know. Good genes for sure.
Yes. Yep.
Well, great product.
And good, as I said, it's, you know, the way we go about doing what we do at my company, the fact that we try to do everything in an ethical fashion, we try to make the best products, do it in an environmentally responsible way, the support we do charitably for Vitamin Angels and all the prenatal vitamins, that's part of, I always talk about Mother Nature's blueprint, that's part of a blueprint that I had no hand in, that's a blueprint that all of our parents hopefully have a hand in affecting as we move through the world.
Well, you really do give back. And one thing is clear, once you try the Andrew Lessman difference, you are compelled to tell everyone else, whether it's special pricing or not. Right. Good news is it does happen to be a weekend special price. Our today's special, well, one of our today's specials, the circulation and vein support, is one of your top reorder. Is this still #1? Is CoQ10 or it's pretty close?
It depends on the season.
Okay.
But CoQ10, Healthy Hair, Skin, and Nails, Essential 1, Circulation and Vein Support, Essential Omega-3, and Ultimate Eye, all vie for that kind of
All the
top
big ones.
title. And
Yeah.
those are by far our most popular products, and they're products that, if you read their reviews, I think the lowest reviewed product of all of them might be 4.6 stars.
You're right.
And 4.6 stars means it averages about 95 to 97% positive reviews. It means it's almost 90% five-star reviews. So these are all products that, and again, the reason why reviews are important to me, because that's my report card.
Yeah,
When I
true.
was a kid, I always tried to get good grades. Those reviews are my good grades or not. And I've had products that I've eliminated and went back to the drawing board and improved. One of the examples of that was my Secure meal replacement.
Right.
My original meal replacement averaged 2 stars. Now, even though it's a low-calorie, flavor-based product, it's a customer pick. It averages, I think, 4.2 or 4.3 stars. Same with our marine collagen peptides, initially 2 stars. Now it's a customer pick. It's over 4 stars. So I take your experience as the most serious role that I have to fulfill, is how well I could meet your experience, how well I can meet your expectations. When it comes to a product like CoQ10,
For sure.
CoQ10 is a serious product because it deals with our body's very ability to produce the energy that makes life possible. Without energy, we are not living, we are not existing, and every single cell in our body has to independently produce all its energy. Right now, we're not producing any energy in this studio. As far as the studio, the lights are on, the air conditioning's on. That's because